Hi, I'm Jeff Sikarsky.
And I'm Jason Primrose.
Welcome to Gentlemen, the #1 podcast for open-hearted leadership. Welcome.
Woo! Pew, 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 pew. I'm going to go ahead and talk about our social channels. If you want more in the form of community, you can find us anywhere: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube for the video versions, and Clubhouse just by searching Gentlemen, 2 words, the podcast. And we started doing something where we talk about any sort of like thing that support us in our leadership as it pertains to the topic of the day. And today's topic is trust and faith. So I will invite. I'm going to start, right?
Yeah, you got something. Okay. Go for it.
So there's a few things that are really, really awesome. For me, coaching has been really monumental in terms of creating a level of trust with someone that has me trust in myself and have faith in like the direction that I'm going, like unwavering faith in the direction that I'm going and in my vision. So to me, in terms of a practice, it's like getting supported is the practice that I think as a man, as a gay Black man, I think a previous belief system that I had was that I wouldn't be able to get that level of support for my life and my vision. So I work with a young woman, Tyla. She's incredible. And she really has me tuned into the ways that I can trust myself. And I think why that's so important is because my previous dynamic was finding all the ways that I couldn't. So it's like, what am I gathering evidence for? So I just wanted to share that.
Thanks. Yeah, you notice how, like, depending on what story you choose to trust or empower, it's the one that you get more of. So I'm really present too for you. How you've continued to work on trusting yourself over and over and reinventing that story that you can trust yourself. And as a result of it, so many new things are happening for you that inside of the old story wouldn't have even made, a difference. Like, I'd be curious just to share with our listeners a little bit, what has, and I have a sneeze coming on, so that's perfect. Apologize in advance, but for you, what has become possible as a result of choosing and trusting yourself?
I want to go into that. And I also want to hear about your practice first.
Nice.
So I'll answer your question after. After you go.
Okay. Honestly, the practice that I give a lot of my clients is this act of not trusting ourselves. One, it keeps us in the story, but it keeps us in simply being in action. And so from that place, we have all of this evidence because we're still not in action. So we still can't trust ourselves. So the practice that I usually give to people, and the one that I even empower on my own time, is just do the damn thing. Like, be willing to take the action and trust, and also have faith that things are going to be fine. Like, when you get to the other side, you realize, oh, wait, I didn't die, but I learned something. So for me, it's just getting into action over and over and consistently as a way of building that muscle.
I love that. I have questions about how do you get there in terms of like getting to the place where you can be in action around a choice. And it's like, what are the milestones, to trust? So with that, I can definitely answer your question about,
go for it.
You should ask it one more time, but if you remember.
I think it was just really what's possible from you building this muscle on trusting yourself.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So it really starts, and this is perfect, it really starts with vision. So it started with vision, just like our podcast started with vision. And when my vision became so powerful, so clear, it basically required a level of trust in myself that I had never sourced before. Because inside of all the old stories, like you said, like the vision wasn't possible. And the deeper I got into the process, right? So maybe the first milestone was like writing every day. It's the story of, oh, I can't be an author. Oh, I can't publish books, blah, 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 whatever the case may be. Well, the first step is like, but I really want to write these books. That's my vision. My vision is completing this series. So then I start to write every day. So that's like the first choice. Then the books are done. Okay, well, now what do I get to do? Or what do well, let's talk about like where I was at the time, right? Well, what do I have to do next? Like, what do I need to find? What don't I know about this process that I need to figure out? So then it became about like editing and all of those different things. And so the trust muscle is being built in the choices that I'm making around my vision. And then as I continue to move forward and see things like come to life, change, transform, improve, maybe my path is becoming more clear, then it's like the pebbles are down and I can just keep walking toward it, keep walking toward it, keep walking toward it. So that's kind of what, that's what I think in terms of milestones. Like what has kept me going for this long? And when I think about, I mean, I always use writing as an example, but it really has happened with anything. In my previous career as a marketing consultant, I didn't trust myself a lot, but I kept seeing that not only was I always getting rehired, but people were also coming back to me over and over again within organizations to do the same thing. Like, oh, you did a really good job with this. Like, can you do this too? Or things like that. So I think even to answer my own question, it's like, look where you already see the evidence of where you can trust yourself. Because as, I guess, insecure as I was about like my ability professionally, there was a clear path, like there was a clear track record of like success, whether it be getting work or performing like outstandingly at it. So there may be something that maybe someone could look at that they are in action around, even if it's like automatic, that shows like a...
Mm-hmm. Well, I hear choosing which story you actually want to trust in. It comes back to choosing the story you want to trust. Like trusting the story. Like, what evidence do you have to trust that this story that you can't trust yourself is actually the thing? And if you actually put that down and you look for evidence in the world, there's so much evidence to disprove what to disprove that story. And that's what came up for me pretty recently when I was up building a dock last week. And what I learned, the main thing that I get out of this is if you do one thing 162 times, you will learn so much about how you go about doing things in the process. Like for me, if I were to execute on trusting myself on something new and be willing to practice and be willing to fail and be willing to mess up 162 times, I guarantee you by the end of that process, you're not going to be in a conversation about not trusting yourself. And you're going to have so many planks, quite literally, laid that are like you were talking about pebbles, right? Like you have to be willing to lay the pebbles to get to the milestones. So it's just like a little bit of an analogy there, but I know I just did that. I know you're really excited about that.
you really brought that home. I
really did.
That was really genius. That was really genius.
Thank you. It's my dad jokes that I've been practicing on for the last like 41 years.
You're like, yes, a living dad.
Oh my God. But even just from a trust standpoint, like when I love the dad jokes, and for me, I do them more for me, but but in places that if we want to look at places that I still don't trust, like I don't trust that I'm going to get the response that I might actually want from the joke, because, you know, it actually feeds into another story that I have that maybe I'm not funny, or maybe I'm stupid. Like we all have these stories, and it's like, which are the ones that we want to trust? How is my life going to go if I continuously live from my story of don't want to look stupid or want to be liked or any of that kind of stuff? The way that story has served me in the past has allowed me to create a lot of my ability to do a lot of things. But how it hasn't served me is it has me doing more work and preparation in not trusting myself than just showing up and doing the thing. And what I learned from this whole doc exercise is that, one, I'm way more capable than I ever gave myself credit for. And I actually believe that we all are. Somehow we sort of discount ourselves for what we think that we can do. So everybody plays inside their comfort zone, and they're willing to reach their hand outside just a little bit, like, ooh, I'm outside my comfort zone. I'm like, yeah, but 78% of your body is still inside.
It's like this.
You know? And like for you, Jason, like what's I hear for you, the story to pick up was that you actually do trust yourself, and that you can create from vision, and that you can, show up as a leader in all of the stuff that you're doing. And by you choosing to empower that, what are just some of the really cool things, like tangible results that we can celebrate here that weren't destined to happen through the story of I don't really trust myself?
Well, my second book is about to come out, which is really exciting. And I funded it through a Kickstarter a second time, which is really exciting.
Oh, wait. And how much money did you get for that? How many percent did you get?
It was 30,000, like 112% funded. It was like $39,000 for my sci-fi dystopian book series.
Oh my God.
Which is really amazing. And the other thing that actually is tangible is faith, because the more evidence I have that I gather, and for trust, right? Like the more I'm in action around my vision, the more trust I have with myself, and the more I'm supported in my vision, the more trust I have in myself. And then as these things happen, like the Kickstarter being funded, I have funded 2 Kickstarters. I'm on my second book. The faith comes into play. It's like, I know I have so much faith in like what I'm creating in the world, like in my purpose and my passion and the story, that it starts to move a lot of things out of the way. Because if I subconsciously believe that it's not going to happen, like whatever the thing is that I really want vision wise isn't going to happen, then that can create little little nicks and stuff. But back to celebrations, but I do want to go back to that, how faith plays into the trust. But it's just, the community that I'm part of is growing. The connections are deepening. It's moving from online to offline. So there's this kind of like, there's so many beautiful things that come out of trusting ourselves. And for me, that's been trusting myself to show up on my social platforms, like as me, whatever that is, going live, no matter what I look like. I could be, if my back is whatever, or, I had a skin rash on my face, like a skin problem on my face where like half my beard was gone. And my hair is finally growing back, but I wouldn't have gone live or done any sort of video content inside of that setting previously. But I really just had to trust that like whatever was showing up for me, like physiologically was what was there, and that I could also still be a leader and be beautiful and be myself and still like be present, with what I was doing and who I am. So like going live, and just being active and not hiding in the shame part. So the trust for me was like trusting that I could be with everything that was with me at the time, and still being able to say, yes, we're doing a video podcast. Yes. I'm pushing forward on this book, even though we're in the middle of a pandemic. Like, I'm doing a Kickstarter in the middle of a pandemic. I'm going to keep doing the Kickstarter, even when there was a snowstorm in Texas. Like, all of that trust and faith played such a large part in like the ability to like keep going.
Mm-hmm. And how much stronger is that muscle now, like empowering trust and faith, than it was even just 60 days ago?
Oh my gosh. So really strong, because three things have happened in the last 3 weeks. So, I hurt my back, and what I was trying to do was like get back to being sexy because I gained weight during the pandemic. But I went about it like, oh, let me just start working out again. So I hurt my back, and part of me was like, oh, I want to like get fixed fast, but then part of me was like, I wonder if there's something more wrong than just what's happening there. Because now that I'm aware of like how one thing could show up one place, it actually shows up in multiple places. So I chose to go an alternative route for healing, and got really clear on the fact that like a lot of my body my functioning is the cause of the back issue. And the thing I was doing is just like, it's like a circumstance. It's like if I got in a fight with a friend, but I never addressed all the layers of the relationship that led up to that moment. So, so that was one thing where I trusted myself to go see someone who would be able to look at my body as a whole. And that has led me to a path of like holistic healing, where I'm actually like working on posture, but actually gaining like tools and techniques for how to, like I was putting myself on mute so I could breathe through my mouth, because that helps me relax my jaw, which opens up the base of my spine and allows, that to open up, because I clench my jaw, and it's a response to the pain that I'm feeling. But actually when I breathe open mouth, it releases, it relaxes, it subsides. So that's a place where I knew that people would be like, why didn't you go to a doctor or whatever the case may be, or urgent care? And I was like a little ashamed to say how I went about it. But at the same time, I feel a lot better, and I'm addressing like my muscular system as a whole, not just, my back. The second one was actually saying no to a job with a previous client that I've been working with a long time. And every time they've come to me with an opportunity, I've said yes inside of, feeling like I owe them something, or just that like, oh, we're friends, so I should help them, or whatever the case may be. And, oh, I kind of need the money. But interestingly enough, this opportunity conflicted so heavily with my vision. I actually had only one choice, and the choice was no, because the opportunity lined up with Juneteenth, which is a huge moment in my community. And for me to be like managing talent or doing anything like that's not inside of being at a pop-up shop, or being at some sort of event, celebrating, like that empowerment, just didn't make any sense. It didn't align. Like I'd seen myself actively integrated in the community at that point, in that celebration. So I got to say no to the opportunity, and I think I trusted myself that when I sent that text, it would be okay, and that it wouldn't damage the relationship. And then a similar thing happened with another client. Same thing. They reached out. They were like, it's the next 6 weeks. And I was like, I'm publishing a book. I'm going to Miami for an NFT conference and dropping an NFT. I'm starting a book club. Juneteenth is kind of like, there was so much. And so my vision has become so powerful. And so like, it's taken up so much space in my life, which is awesome, that I get to choose my vision every time. And I think that that's the trust.
Well, it also sounds like you are fully trusting your vision as well.
Yeah. That's pretty scary. But yeah. Yeah. Cause I mean, that's probably like, I probably said no to like, I don't know, probably like $15,000 or $20,000 of work. So, but
yeah. Well, look, I mean, what I love about this is that it's actually putting you in a totally new territory. Like from my side, getting to share the place where everything is in my life is not too dissimilar from what's showing up in yours, which clearly us doing this work together and this podcast together is a reflection of us being super synced up, right? But it's the idea of like the thing that I've been trying to create for the last 3 years is actually here. And it's like, that's been as far as my vision as I've been able to really see it and like tangibly grasp onto it. And now I'm actually in this place where I'm at a totally new place. I'm now actually at the precipice of where I thought I wasn't sure I could get to: business, relationships, friendships, podcast. And so now I get the opportunity to reinvent my vision to the next place. And for me, I'm like, wow, I don't actually know what this looks like. So what a cool place for me to get to. But I had to cast the vision to begin with 3 years ago. I had to trust myself in the process. I had to go through the breakdowns. I had to lay the planks over and over and over again. I had to get knocked down to get back up. No Chumbawamba theme song or anything. But the idea is like, wow, I had to put in the work. And when you talk about what's been really supportive for you, and I'll echo it 100%, I'm a coach. I coach people for a living. That's how I support my lifestyle, and it's also I help others support theirs. And I have a coach too, because I believe that wherever I stop in my level of support, wherever I stop in trusting myself, wherever I stop in my vision, is going to inhibit my relationships and my clients and all of that kind of stuff. So my commitment is to continue to do my work, because I know whatever I'm noticing what ceilings I've been breaking through lately, and all of my calls this week are my clients showing up, busting through the last layer of stuff that I had just broken through. And a lot of that has to do with self-worth, with money, with trust, in relationships, sex, like all of these different areas. My clients are showing up almost with all of these little pieces and breaking through on their own. So I get to empower, and I'm going to take some time this weekend, especially tomorrow, I get to empower a whole new layer of trust, a whole new layer in trust for me to cast the new vision, the reinvention and the scaling of my business, the next step for season 2 of this podcast, the next vision and version of sex and relationship and marriage and family and a house. And like what I got from one of the main things that I got from building this doc, and I sent it to Casey and I said, she's like, well, what are you going to build next? And I, with complete grounded certainty, I said, a house. Like, no shit, no kidding. By the end of this year, I will have property. I will be working on it. I will be, refurbishing what I want to and be building our next home. And like, it was intellectually, I knew it before that, but there was something in that moment that was so crystal clear based on what I had just achieved that had me just go, oh yeah, this is the next thing in line. Like it's just going to happen. And before it was like, oh, it's way out there. I'm finally going to get there someday. It's going to happen 2021, 2022. But had I not taken down everything that I had actually taken on before that, I wouldn't have been able to say it with such certainty.
Wow. I really heard I really heard you say that. I mean, you said that with absolute trust and faith. Like, you knew that there was no other thing that could be possible except for that. And that it was so, the time frame was so clear too.
Oh yeah.
And so it's very interesting that you talk about all the breakdowns. And I remember we had a conversation earlier this year about your feelings around being a husband and a father. And so I'm curious to know that with that level of certainty around building your own home, how you feel about your trust and faith in your future family, and like how do you have that same level of like timeline and certainty around what that looks like?
Yeah, I do. And what's cool is the whole conversation, or the whole yes, is coming from my body and like my being. Like we were talking at the beginning about going get your body working on and being able to embody things. And one of the things I've been working on lately is, what do I need to take on to make it a full body yes? I can say yes from my head all day long. I can say no from my head. But if I can say yes from my body, it's like pulling in my intellect and my heart and my wisdom and my root and like all of these different components for me. And there's just like, it kind of feels like I'm the Kool-Aid man that can just like bust through any wall. Like
that
level. There's like, that was not planned for anybody listening, but Jason was ready for that moment.
I have my own dad jokes too.
Oh my God. Who would have thought a conversation about trust and faith usually is so serious? Like, oh my goodness.
Oh my God. But it's us.
But what I'm getting is like, can you just also, let's take a moment to acknowledge that how this conversation is going around in trust and faith is a total, it's a representation of our expression of who we are as men. Like we have all of our individual uniquenesses, but like who we are choosing to show up and how we've chosen to trust ourselves. And so to circle back to that question that you just said, like, yeah, I'm good. Like that's the thing. It's like, I'm actually just good. And before I had to convince myself, or I had to prove it to myself, or something needed to be laid down in the path for me to then like step into it. And now I'm just actually taking the steps towards it. And that has to do with what do I need to put in place for the house? What do I need to do for our taxes? Where is it going to be? What do we want it to be? Like the vision for that is starting to come to life. And along the side, it's like, okay, how does that work into the family plan? How does that work into the vision for the marriage? And like, do they go like society thinks that they should? Does it like A, B, C, D? Or is it like C, A, D, F, kind of stuff? And I think that's stuff that we're completely working out. But there's not the story that I usually have is like, oh, it's not going to happen, or it's not going to happen when I want it to. It's going to happen because I'm saying it's going to happen. And it's going to happen in partnership with my partner. And I get to do all of this really cool stuff, like buy a nail gun and do all this really cool stuff that I really am excited about doing. So long answer, short question, but that's what I got.
Very cool. Very cool. I'm excited to see all of this happen in whatever order it happens in.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure we'll be talking about it. So if you're listening to this podcast, make sure you subscribe, because if I'm playing for this game, there's going to be a lot of breakdowns for us to talk about, especially in where I'm seeing this new vision, or even some of the things that are starting to pop up in this new vision. So
absolutely,
man, wow, this conversation went really fast. How do you feel about like dropping some what did we get and close down this amazing Trust and Faith podcast?
Yeah. What I got is that I'm really in a place right now where all of the options are now available to me. Like, not only do I have a level of awareness, but I'm also again, getting supported around having increased level of awareness around like who I am and what's possible.
Mm-hmm.
And because I can see more of what's possible on the table, I can make choices from trust. And choosing from trust also requires me to have faith in the outcome. So what I've seen over the last few weeks is that I have access to what's possible. I'm choosing from trust and having faith in the outcome. And I didn't realize that until today, but it's so exciting. The outcomes are going amazing, actually.
Yeah. I'm present to, like, what I'm getting out of this conversation is exactly what you said, but I'm also getting that trust can be fun. You know, I think it has to be, my old relationship to it had to be scary and arduous and had to be full of pressure and potential catastrophe. And it's not, and it doesn't have to, because nobody's going to die. Like, stuff's not that deep, and that we can actually really create stuff from trust and play. And what I get for myself around that is that building from trust and faith and the play or expression or this more unique representation of who I am and what I'm committed to be in this world, that all of a sudden the options just present themselves. It's almost like you call them in a little bit. And I guess, again, it's long-winded, but it's something that I always like knew intellectually, but through the practice of it over and over, like, I'm actually embodying it, and that's a totally different experience.
Yeah.
So
full body trust.
Full body trust. I love that. Let's keep going with that one. Wow. Well, so cool. So if everybody here enjoyed this episode, I mean, we're just kind of spitballing here, but clearly trust and faith is an amazing aspect, and it's one of our top pillars, and it's important to becoming and being a gentleman and creating the results of what it looks like to be a gentleman and become an open-hearted leader. So if you enjoyed this episode, always write down what you got. Send it to us. Send us a DM on Instagram. Send us an email. We'd love to know what you got, and be willing to take the action today. I think that's the other thing that I really got is tomorrow is just an excuse, and today is the opportunity. So seize it.
Ooh, mic drop.
I know. I just did that. Well,
okay.
my mic's on.
Tomorrow is the excuse. Today is the opportunity. That's going on mugs with gentlemen.
Wait. I think you got it reversed. Today's the opportunity. Tomorrow's just an excuse.
I thought I said, okay. Today's the opportunity.
I heard it backwards, but
okay. I think I said tomorrow's first, but it's fine. Whatever order, we are putting that on a mug and selling it on our website. So be sure to tune in next week for our chat with Pastor Kevin Francis, lead pastor of Powerhouse LA. And in the meantime, I encourage you to go back and listen to the other episodes, because all of our topics build on each other. And I know you'll find something for yourself there as well. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next week.